Alright, so today is 0.1a. We're going to talk about integers. We're going to talk about all the operations of integers. So you add a positive number by moving to the right on the number line. So this is kind of common sense. So if I had 1, right? If I had 1 plus 2, so I'd start at 1 and I'd go over 1, 2, and my answer would be 3. Okay? So that's kind of common sense. You move to the right of the number line when you are adding a positive number. Okay? Then you add a negative number by moving to the left. So you're subtracting that number. So your number is getting smaller. So let's say it was 4 minus 3, right? So this is a positive 4. This is a negative 3. So you're at 4 and you're going negative 3, so you move to the left. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, and my point will go to 1. Okay? So that's just using a number line. If you use a number line, you have to know which way you are going. So positive, you move to the right, and negative, you move to the left. So let's just go ahead and find the sums. So when I think about finding the sums, when we were in 7th grade, we talked about if it has the same sign, you combine. If you had opposite signs, you subtract. So when I think about this, I'm going to start by circling. So I'm going to start by circling my terms. So I have a negative 2 and a positive 5. So those are different signs. I have negative and a positive. So opposite signs, we subtract. 5 is bigger than 2, so I'm going to take 5 minus 2, which is 3. And then 5 is bigger than 2, as I said. So 5 is positive, so I'm going to keep the positive 3. Okay? So if I go to number 2, I have positive 2 and I have a negative 6. So I have positive 2, negative 6, opposite signs, we subtract. So 6 minus 2 is 4. And then that 6 is bigger than that 2, so that 6 is a negative, so you keep the negative. Okay. Then we have 7, negative 3. So I have positive 7. Negative 3. Opposite signs we subtract again, so 7 minus 3 is 4. 7 is bigger than 3, so we keep 7 sign. Negative 8, positive 2. So opposite signs, again, we subtract, so I get 6. Negative 8 is bigger than a 2. So 8 is bigger than 2, so we keep 8 sign, which is negative. Okay? Negative 4, positive 5. Okay? So the opposite signs again, we subtract, so 5 minus 4, which would be 1, and then we keep the positive because 5 is bigger than 4. Okay, you can use a number line, okay, if you want. So I'll use the number line for these last two problems. So I'm going to start at negative 1 right here, so negative 1. Okay, and this is adding a negative number, right? So that's adding a negative 2. So if I'm adding a negative 2, I'm going to go to the left because you're adding a negative. So I'm going to go to left 2, 1, 2. So this would be negative 2, negative 3, and your point would be at, so you start here, negative 1, your point moves over 2, and you get negative 3. Whatever is easier on you to do, okay? So then I'm going to have my number line. I start at positive 4 here, and this is a negative 5, so since it's a negative, you move to the left because it's minusing or getting smaller, so I'm going to move to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 3, 2, 1, 0, negative 1. So I started here, and I ended here if you moved over, so I get negative 1 for this answer. Okay? Alright, so to add numbers with the same sign, add their absolute values, attach the common sign. So if you are adding the numbers with the same sign, it's kind of like same sign, you combine, but you take the absolute value. When you take the absolute value of a number, that's just the distance away from 0. So the distance away from 0 of negative 4 would be 4 because it's 4 places away from 0. Negative 5 would be 5. So if you have the same signs, you take the absolute value, attach the common sign. Or same signs, you combine. To add numbers with opposite signs, you subtract the smaller value from the larger value, and then attach the sign of the number with the larger absolute value, which is what we did up here. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to circle my terms. I have a negative 4, negative 5, same signs, we combine. Or we take the absolute value. So negative 4, the absolute value of negative 4 is 4. The absolute value of negative 5 is 5. and we combine them or we add them, so we get 9, and then we keep the sign. They're both negative, so we keep that negative. Okay, so here we have a -8, a -3, same sign, so we get the absolute value, 8, 3, 8 plus 3 is 11, and we keep the sign, negative, because they are the same sign. Okay, this we have 3, -9, opposite sign, so we subtract the bigger from the smaller, so 9 minus 3, which gives you 6, and then you take the bigger number, which is 9, sign, so that's -6. Okay, we have a -5, +9, opposite sign, so we subtract. So 9 minus 5 is 4. 9 is bigger and it's positive, so I keep it positive. -3, -7, same signs, combine. So we get 3, 7, we combine them, and we get 10, keep the sign. Okay, this one you have -1, +3, opposite signs, you subtract them. So big number, 3 minus 1, which gives you 2, and then 3 is bigger than 1, so we keep the positive. Okay, then we move on down here. Okay, evaluate just means to solve, so I get 4 plus a -6, opposite sign, subtract, so I get 6 minus 4, which is 2, keep the negative sign because 6 is bigger than 4, then I have +9 left, so I rewrite that, -2, +9, opposite sign, subtract, so I get 7, and 9 is bigger than 2, so I keep the positive. Alright, so here if you see that's a -0.5, that's a +0.5, they technically can subtract each other out, but if you don't see that right away, you can do this problem just like normal. So -0.5 plus +3, so opposite signs you subtract, so 3 minus 0.5, which is 2.5. 3 is bigger than 0.5, so you keep the positive. Then you have plus 0.5. Same sign, same signs, if you circle them, combine, so that becomes 3. And they're both positive, so you keep that side. Okay, now we're getting into some fractions. So if they have the same denominator and they look like they're going to work out pretty well, I would do the fractions first, but let's do -3 plus 2/3. So opposite signs you subtract. So if I take 3 minus 2/3, right? So I need a 3 over 3. So I'm going to borrow from this 3. Okay, I'm going to borrow from this 3, and this is going to become 2, and this is going to become 3 over 3. Okay, so 3 minus 2 is 1, so I have 1/3 here, and then 2 minus 0 is 2. So I have 2 and 1/3 from that. Okay, and that's negative because -3 is bigger, and then I still have that plus 1/3. Opposite signs we subtract, so if I take away 2 and 1/3 and I take away 1/3, you get a -2 as your answer. Alright, let's keep going. We got a -7 and a positive 11. Opposite signs we subtract. 11 minus 7 is 4, and 11 is bigger, so we keep that positive. Drop down that plus 7. 4 plus 7 is 11. There's your answer. As I said, if you realize that you have a -7 and a positive 7 in there, those two technically cancel out, and you can just do what's left. But if you don't realize that, you can always step through the problem. Okay, now I have -5 and a positive 1. Opposite signs we subtract, so I get 4. 5 is bigger, we get -4 plus 2, -4, positive 2. Opposite signs we subtract, so we get 2. And then 4 is bigger than 2, so I get -2. Alright. Okay, so if a number is never negative, what kind of number is it? Is it a double negative? The opposite of a negative number. So if it's never negative, what number is it? Alright, so let's look at this. So now we're doing some subtraction, right? So I have 10, okay, and then I have a -11. Take the sign that's in front of it. We can rewrite this as a addition, right? So 10 plus a -11 is the same exact thing as 10 minus 11. So, and then it's just like above. So I have 10, -11, opposite signs, we subtract, so I get 1. 11's bigger, so I keep that negative. Okay, same thing. 11 minus 10, you guys should know just by looking at it, is 1. But if you don't know, we can do 11, -10, 11 plus a -10, 11. Okay, so then we have opposite signs, so we subtract, so negative 15 plus 6, or subtract minus 6, so 15 minus 6 is 9. 15 is bigger, so we keep that negative sign. Okay, then we do negative 3, negative 5. We can rewrite that as a addition if we want. Negative 5, negative 3. Opposite sign, or same signs we combined, or we take the absolute value and combine them, so 8, and then we keep the negative sign. Alright, keep going. So this becomes positive. 1 plus 2 is 3 because they're both positive, right? And then we have a negative 6, so 3 plus a negative 6, right? Because that has a negative. And then opposite signs we subtract, so we get 3. 6 is bigger, so we get negative 3. Okay, we have positive 7, negative 1, opposite signs we subtract, so that becomes 6 minus a negative 6, right? But double negative, so we add that. Same sign, they're both positive, right? So we combine them, so 6 plus 6 is 12. Be careful with your signs. First thing to look for, double negative, so this becomes positive. Let's start here, negative 46, and then this is negative 17, so plus negative 17. So same signs we combine, so 46 plus 17 is 63, keep the sign negative, and then we still have that plus 2 over here, and opposite signs we subtract, and we get negative 61. Okay, so going to the next one, this double negative, we change right away to positive. Double negative, change to positive again. So these are all positive, so technically it's 4 plus 3 plus 5. You should know how to do that. That's 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12. Okay. All right. So that is adding and subtracting integers.